This book does not fit in my normal category of books to review. I don't normally review books like this one. The closest I come to is the Babylon Bees guidebooks. But when I saw the cover to this, I felt drawn to read it. Now, what got me was not the title gone viral, but it was the subtitle, How COVID Drove the World Insane. And what hooked me to read it myself was that word, insane. Because there were multiple times in 20 and 2021 when I called individuals in my family or I had private conversations with my wife where I just said, I think I'm going insane. This entire pandemic is driving me crazy. There were so many days in the pandemic where I couldn't make sense the regulations and the mandates that were put out by our politicians and the rhetoric that was coming out on the news. The responses to COVID-19 made me feel like I must be nuts because I couldn't understand it. Closing parks and gyms and playgrounds were what kind of broke my sanity. We know that COVID isn't good for anyone, but we know it's way worse for someone who is obese and overweight. So shouldn't we be making campaigns for people to get outside and exercise, to have people go to the gym? And then when I took my own kids on a 2-mile walk around one of the parks in our area, the reward for walking around the park was going to be you can play on the playground when we're done. And then we arrived at the playground and it was wrapped all around with yellow police tape. What? I felt insane in that moment. It must just be me who can't get it. If you were someone who felt like you were going insane during the COVID pandemic, maybe Gone Viral is exactly the book you need right now. Welcome to Rev Reads, your home for book reviews from the perspective of a pastor. If you're new to the channel and want to discover more surprising and informative books, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the most current reviews. If you're a regular to the channel, please like this video and share it with others who are also wrestling with the response to the COVID-19 pandemic as we move forward today. Now, I wish Gone Viral by Justin Hart could have been released about a year earlier, because I think then it would have been even more helpful. And I think my one other small complaint about the book is that some of the mockery of the book went a little bit too far for my own personal taste. But overall, I found the book to be very helpful for my emotional and my mental state. To just walk through a book that covered masking, vaccines, lockdowns, the lab leak theory, the anger and fear that was felt toward each other during the pandemic, and to just have a book that says, you weren't crazy through all of this. The school closures were wrong. The lockdowns were wrong. The brash pride of our scientific community was wrong. The key word to this book is the word wrong. The government and the scientific community again and again got things wrong. And when they told us that going against their decision was the same as supporting conspiracy theories, or it was becoming a danger to our community, that made people like me feel insane. Because I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I don't go for things like Bigfoot. And I also don't see myself as being a danger to my neighbors. And the way that our leaders were using fear in order to manipulate our nation was just wrong. One of the things that I did early on in the pandemic was I read a book on the 1918 Spanish flu. You can watch my review of that book. I'll put a link in the description below. But one of the things that surprised me was that at the end of that book on the 1918 Spanish flu, the author went through how the CDC should respond to future pandemics based on what we experienced in 1918. She cited specific CDC guidelines and procedures in the book. And then early in 2020, our leaders took all those guidelines and threw them out the window. We never hit the rates for death or hospitalization that should have led to a lockdown. But the lockdowns came shockingly early, which meant grandparents died alone. Kids missed out on their graduation, even when the CDC officials in 2019 would have told us that we should have never had lockdown rates based upon what happened in 2020. And what Justin Hart does in this book is he brings together all the places where the government shut down schools, masked toddlers, arrested sunbathers, and made commercial flying a nightmare to show how they were wrong again and again and again. Their science was bad. It was just unproven. Their theories were put forward as facts. Now, I do want to say I don't think this book is for everyone, but I think this book is especially for those who, if in the response to COVID-19, it put a strain on your sanity, this book could be very helpful to allow you to recenter your thinking, to be grounded again once you realize that, you know what, you weren't going insane for the last 2 years. Maybe it was just the leaders who were around us. So to everyone who felt like you were losing your sanity during the COVID-19 pandemic, as I felt like I was losing my own, I encourage you to read Gone Viral by Justin Hart.